The strange creature draws its weapon, and every florb in the room freezes. We've all seen just what this terrifying device is capable of firsthand, when it used it to slay the Grobulan pirates who had boarded our vessel. It was a massacre. Their screams still echo in my mind. I could do naught but watch in bloodied horror as their bodies simply detonated in a shower of blue fluid. And the noise, the horrible, horrible noise. One would expect a weapon of such terrifying power to be matched by an equally powerful roar, but this one's report is far more fluid-chilling, almost silent, except for a high-pitched whine as its motors spin to unfathomable speeds within fractions of a second, delivering its lethal payload at a fraction the speed of sound itself. Yet despite this, the projectile is almost entirely silent, at least until impact. Never did I think a soft plink could instill such fear within me. But when it is accompanied by such death, how could it not? And the plink was only when it missed and struck a nearby object instead. I dare not describe the noise of a direct hit. Suffice to say, it is the stuff of nightmare. At the least, it certainly appears fearsome. Ergonomically designed, seeming to my eyes to be tailored to the creature's unique physical composition. One end is flared into a flat shape which it braces against what it has informed me during my earlier medical operation to be its shoulder. No doubt to handle the certainly vicious recoil such a mortifying tool must produce, though it gives no physical signs of such recoil during firing, I can only assume its physical strength must be beyond measure. The main body of the weapon is as black as the void, which makes its surface difficult for my eyes to truly discern, not that I believe my mind could handle whatever arcane horrors must make up its mechanical composition. What is all too easy to see, however, is the other end of it. Bright orange as the surface of a lower main sequence star appropriate, given its sheer power. One could liken it to the force of a star itself, and though such a likening would yet be metaphorical, I could think of a few who may yet truly believe it if they bore witness to its effect. Take me back. Now. The room's translator intoned with mechanical apathy. It was a rushed job, and certainly imperfect intonations and inflections are always the most difficult thing to encode into a translator, so sometimes when a new one pops up, it doesn't know what to do with it and just goes flat. This is the first time it's used this particular tone, but we all knew exactly what it intended, given that it now points the weapon of our salvation against us. As the captain pleaded with it to reconsider her offer, I thought back to how this mess began. I am aboard the FLB Bright Future, an exploratory vessel plying the deepest reaches of unexplored space on a mission to discover valid hyperlane anchor points. Ours is a most vital task, for without the anchors, travel on the scale necessary to support intergalactic infrastructure was simply impossible. And without such infrastructure, new sources of valuable chemical resources could not be tapped to support the growth of the Floorbus Combine. It is a long mission, as traveling without a hyperlane is a task of many years, even with the most powerful warp engine. Folding spacetime from within the bubble is a monumental and extremely energy-intensive task, which is why we need the anchors. With an exorbitantly large external structure, a self-stable bubble can be formed with relative ease around other objects, and from there, a smaller engine can focus instead on pushing it, though the bubble will break on its own eventually, which limits how far a given vessel can travel and cannot be broken from within, thus necessitating a different anchor at the destination. Further still, space-time bubbles of any sort are extremely sensitive to gravitational forces, which makes sense of course as gravity is essentially a fluctuation within space-time itself. Thus, the hyperlane was born. Areas of the galaxy where such fluctuations are either weak enough to be ignored or predictable enough to be utilized for ever faster travel. And so the task of exploratory vessels such as the Bright Future is twofold: to ply the depths of unexplored space, analyzing the gravitational patterns and identifying prime locations for hyperlane anchors, far enough away from the next nearest to be cost-effective, as simply building an anchor in every single star system is out of the question, but close enough to minimize the risks of unwary vessels, overestimating their distance, and ending up trapped in the depths of the void. Though most vessels do have a warp engine, most commercial organizations rely upon the anchors so greatly that such engines are often only barely strong enough to guide a bubble formed by an anchor. It is rare for a non-specialized vessel to be capable of self-bubbled travel, especially since such an engine is often extremely expensive to fabricate and to power. Nearly 90% of the Bright Future's fusion drive is dedicated to the task, necessitating minimal life support functions and stasis pods when in use. I am the lead medical officer of the FLB Bright Future Plorp Ruffaloo. Yes, hold your awe. I am well aware of the nobility of my name, but I care little for such things. I refuse to ride upon my father's coat tentacles which is why I volunteered for such a common position instead of seeking the employment of cutting-edge research facilities. Besides, I always felt that the best research is that done outside of a stuffy and controlled laboratory. Science is exploration of a sort. If one is not adventurous in their pursuit of it, then any discovery they make is bound to be pedestrian or extraordinarily slow to achieve. Out here, I get to study the anatomies of new and exciting creatures discovered upon the worlds we encounter. The array of life is truly astonishing, which is why I am currently utterly flabbergasted at the sight before me. Never in my days have I encountered a creature so perplexing. Preliminary examination reveals that its body is, astoundingly, supported by some kind of rigid internal structure, not unlike the hollow structures inside of Frianas that my medical scanning equipment cannot penetrate. However, by my reckoning, I would need a vessel-grade device to create rays powerful enough to examine the internal structure of these supports. It is as if the thing is made of some manner of rock or crystal. What on Florbulus could drive such an adaptation? I do understand that the gravity of the world upon which it was discovered is significantly higher than average for life-bearing planets, but surely this is too much. What could these creatures be doing to necessitate such internal durability, I mused to myself. I jumped when Hark Manifred responded. I had forgotten he was here still. From what I saw, Doc, fighting a war. My cephalus paled. A war? So then the long-distance scanners were true? This is an intelligent species? I suppose I should have gathered from the relatively obvious artificial accoutrement it came with, but, well, I was more focused on the gaping wound in one of its limbs at the time. When Lieutenant Manifred brought the creature in, it appeared to have been struck by some kind of object, a small piece of lead, which was astonishingly almost flattened. For such a material to deform so severely, whatever sent it flying must have been extraordinarily powerful. I struggled greatly to perform surgery. Even the creature's flesh seems to be supernaturally durable. I had to make use of a laser cutter typically reserved for cutting through military armor, just to create an opening large enough to fit extraction tools through. It took the strength of I and all three of my attending to ply the object free from its form, as it appeared to have been lodged inside one of those very dense supporting structures. As I recalled this, it all suddenly made sense. A high-gravity planet, intelligent, with extremely dense internal structures and fighting a war. This is a soldier, heavily augmented with some kind of organic implant. The lead must be, dear gods, a weapon, fashioned specifically to tear through flesh with ease, if its saw blade shape is anything to go by. Or perhaps could the lead have deformed after impact with the structure, rather than having been shaped? If that was the case, then its original shape some kind of pointed volume? Aerodynamic, it was fired? They use lead projectiles as a weapon? I must make a report of this. The captain will want to ugh my head, it speaks. Actually, wait. That must be the translator. The ship is equipped with embedded translators in each room to save the burden of carrying a computational box on the person, though the fact that it's working already must mean doctor. Trin? I take it you have already deciphered their language? I call over my communication device. Yes, Doctor. Ruffaloo, Dr. Trin began. He is the ship's communications officer, a Friana, and also an expert in xenolinguistics for exactly this situation first contact. Once we entered orbit, I had discovered that the strange EM waves were, in fact, not due to the local star, but rather artificial constructions, a massive communications network scaling the entire planet, though nowhere beyond it except for what appear to be a handful of very small orbital outposts. Yes, Doctor. Trin. I understand you're excited, but if you truly wish to study their language more, I believe you would have better luck speaking with our guest. I know him too well, and frankly was not eager to handle initial outreach with a patient who had just awoken from such a horrendous wound. I did not need to keep my device on to know that his assistants were plugging their auditory cavities to protect themselves from his excited shrill. In barely 2 minutes, Dr. Trin burst through the doorway in an exhausted huff. Thankfully, the patient didn't seem to take notice of where exactly it was just yet. Its oculars have yet to unshield themselves. I prepared to greet my colleague, but he seemed disinterested in me, as I should expect. Archithy awoken? I heard, which caused me to realize that I was actually awake and not at home in bed. Darn, I've got to get up. That asshole could still be OW. Shit, the gunshot! Where the hell am I? I'm pretty sure I was just at an airsoft field, in the middle of a match when some psycho brought his dad's real damn gun instead. Bastard even painted the damn thing's barrel and made sure to hide it. What the fuck was he thinking? But right now I'm looking at a what the hell is it? It looks like a cross between a fish and a bird. It's got feathers, and what looks like a beak. But then, it's shiny, and has big ol' fish eyes and weird-looking neck gill thingies, like Abraham from Hellboy. Next to it is an octopus, but it's huge, like 3 times the size of a person, and also wearing a doctor's outfit. What the actual ow? I'm reminded that I was just shot in the leg. Even the slightest movement hurts like hell, but when I looked down, I couldn't see an entry wound. Or any blood for that matter, nor did it feel like I had shards of thigh bone stabbing me from the inside. It was just really sore. Me cogitates its wakefulness. Medical Officer Trin, the octopus spoke. It spoke. Holy shit, these are aliens. Holy shit. Damn. Oh no? Oh yes? I don't know, actually. I mean, they don't seem like the take me to your leader and prepare for anal probing type. They apparently even bothered to fix my leg and, presumably, save me from that gun-toting maniac. Looking around, I see they even brought my stuff with me, though it's locked up in some kind of transparent locker. Not that an airsoft M4 would be particularly useful against an advanced alien species. Their words are weird, but the fact that I can hear anything even remotely coherent means they have some kind of translation thingy going on. Though either it's really bad or they do just have a strange manner of speaking. No way is this actually first contact? That would explain the crappy translation. At least, it would mean they've had hardly any time at all to decipher my language. I should try, yes? I am awake. Hi? I make my best attempt at a greeting, but they all jump back when I raise my hand in a lazy wave. Oh yeah, first contact shit. Can't make any sudden movements. In fact, they probably, oh, eight Jesus, that's a shark. Yep, that is a goddamn shark person right there. Okay, calm down. Aliens. Yes, just aliens? Maybe it's a nice shark person? Maybe he's a doctor, no. He's definitely got some kind of weapon. Vaguely gun-shaped, but strangely very round like a banana. But with a light show on the side of it. A laser, maybe? Anyways, yes, he must be the guard. Makes sense. New species. No clue what they're capable of. Far as they know, I got retractable claws or acid spit or something. No sudden moves, or King Shark over there might rip me in half or disintegrate me with that fancy gun, I guess. The birdfish, I think the octopus called it Medical Officer Trin. But the octopus is the one wearing the outfit. Oh, bad translation, right? Medical officer is probably an attempt to translate doctor, which means the birdfish is a doctor, but not necessarily a medical one. Or maybe he is and doctors just dress like that and the octopus back there is a nurse or something. Anyways, the doctor seemed to fiddle with something in the wall and then spoke again. There, that should be better. I always forget to account for the more common bands. Now, I would ask if you are awake again, but I think that much is obvious. Greetings, I am Dr. Uliwet Trinishidianafor, but my colleagues often refer to me as Dr. Trin. I am the communications officer. This is Dr. Plorp Ruffaloo, our shipboard medical professional, and the one behind you is Lieutenant Hark Manifred, the on who retrieved you from your endangered state. We are currently aboard the FLB Bright Future, which is a spacefaring exploratory vessel under the command of the Floorbus Combine. I hope you do not mind, but I took the liberty of exploring the rudimentary communication systems of your world and discovered quite the interesting stock of conceptual fictions. I've not yet poured through them all, but I believe you are well familiar with most civilized structural concepts. The Dr. Trin seemed happy? I couldn't be too sure. Whatever is doing the translation appears to be attempting to mimic tone and inflections, but, well, I guess it's still a bit too new at this. In any case, I think the doctor here is excited. Also, the shark guy is the one that saved me? Cool. Wait, he said he looked through our rudimentary communication systems? Oh dear God, no, he's seen the internet. This could be bad. Listen, what you saw on the internet, just know that it a lot of, well, not really true stuff. I mean, it's not the best image of humanity I began when the doctor interrupted me. Oh, don't worry too much. As I said, I've yet to pour through most of what I recovered, and when I performed my initial sweep, I had yet to fully flesh out the translations. Currently, I only have saved information related to a few keywords. This isn't my first contact, you know. I'm well aware of how, shall we say, odd some species' public communications networks can be. To protect myself from whatever horrors may have been conjured by nascent, what did you say, humanity? I was very conservative in my retrievals. In any case, there will always be time later to do a more thorough exploration when sufficient context has been gained. Oh, thank God. I raised a hand to my chest, only to notice that it was incredibly easy. Far too easy, in fact. As if I weighed almost nothing, oh day! What a joyous day! First contact! It has been so many years since the last one. I had begun to lose hope that I would see another in what time I have left. I could not help but sing a joyous song on the way, though for the sake of our new guest, I had to restrain myself before entering. There is no telling if they are sensitive to sound. I would not want to accidentally deafen a brand new species. I am so very pleased to know that the translation is working correctly, It won't be long before it's heard every possible phoneme and intonation. Perhaps in just a few days we'll be able to converse as if we shared the same native tongue. Not to mention, they are remarkably calm. Normally, first contact can be a rather hectic affair, filled with songs of fear or anger. But not this one. It seems I was correct in my observation that his people have long since theorized spaceflight, and even the possibility of alien species. I was afraid for a moment that the fictions I discovered were obscure resources known to only a few, or perhaps they are, and he is one of those few. In any case, this is looking to be a very smooth first contact. Those are the best, as it gives me the greatest amount of time to converse for the sake of improving the translator and truly exploring the depths of their culture and history in the most engaging way possible. Conversation. Now, what do your people call you actually? First, do your people also utilize individual specific names or titles? A beginner's question, but an all too important one. A great deal of cultural differences can arise from something so seemingly small as the usage of names. Yes, we have names. Mine's Duncan. Duncan Euler. No, not that O. You probably wouldn't know who Euler was. Anyways, yeah, that's my name. It spoke. The words did come off a little flat in the translator, but I could hear the subtle variations that the translator couldn't overwrite. Wonderful. Their species seems to make use of intonations and inflections, and the name, two names, of first and last, just like most species, lending further credence to metacognitive binomial theory. I'll have to make a note of that later, for now. And what is it you do, Duncan Euler? I mean to say, your profession or trade. For what societal purpose do you serve? Another quite important question. By knowing the station of the subject, we know what their perspective of their own society might be. Naturally, you cannot learn all there is to know from a single individual, especially in more fractious societies where so little as a place of birth can be the difference between ancestral hatred or familial piety. I believe he is a soldier, Dr. Trin, Dr. Ruffalo spoke up, which does annoy me somewhat. I understand his desire to hasten things stems from his people's general anxiety towards prolonged contact. But seriously, long, drawn-out conversations are the best. He should know how rude he is being. Duncan spoke up now, thankfully. Actually, no, I boom! The entire vessel is suddenly rocked by what sounds like some kind of explosion. I and the others are tossed to a far wall with agonizing force. I feel as several of my hollow bones shatter from the impact. The pain is excruciating. It cannot end like this. I had too much to live for. I wasn't done talking darn. That was loud and painful. Not really in the oh no, all my bones broke sort of way, but more like tripping on something and then face planting sort of way. Except I fell backwards into the wall, and although I didn't feel anything break, that doesn't mean nothing did. At the very least, I'm going to have one hell of a bruise on my back. This, at least, confirmed my suspicions. I bounced off that wall like a super ball. Gravity on this ship is really weak. Walking is going to be a bitch and a half. Though given the explosion, I don't think walking is going to be my main worry. What hell is happening? Hull breach detected. A drone of a voice rang out. Must be some kind of shipboard AI? Sealing cabins. Seal successful. Repressor boom. Another explosion, but smaller this time. I was able to catch myself just fine. I look over to where the other are and oh god. Dr. Trin is Jesus. Like a bird that flew into a window at full speed, I guess. I mean, he does look like a bird, so I guess he had hollow bones. Which means that first explosion must have I'm gonna be sick. He seemed so nice too. Thankfully, the sharkman and the octopus seem to have taken that a little better. Squishy bodies, I guess, probably helps with shock absorption. Internal breach detected. Intruders detected. Red alert. Red alert. Intruders. I get the point and immediately begin shutting out the AI voice. Of course this happens. Textbook Sci-Fi first contact interrupted by some kind of violent enemy. What is it? Soldiers? Don't tell me they came out here as explorers in the middle of some kind of galactic war zone? No, that doctor seemed far too smart for these aliens to be naive. Must be pirates or maybe mercenaries of some kind. The only question then is why? What value could an exploration ship hold for pirates? Well, stupid question, I guess. He also said under the command of the Floorbus Combine. Military ship. Military ships have military weapons. Of course, pirates would want something like that if they got a chance. And I guess these ones decided a first damn contact was theirs. I go for the locker with my stuff. I doubt an airsoft gun is going to be helpful against space-age technology, but you never know. Maybe I can use it to make a distracting noise, or maybe they won't be able to tell it isn't a real weapon, and I can do some kind of bluff with it. Worst case, it's heavy real metal. I liked the heft, and I'm sure a pirate's face probably won't. The octopus and the sharkman seem to still be recovering. I guess it hit them a bit harder than I thought. But I didn't have any kind of medical expertise, especially for alien anatomy, so I didn't really bother to check on them. I smashed the glass window of the locker they put my stuff in, wasn't about to bother fiddling with some kind of locking mechanism and risk activating something. It didn't hurt. It's not actually glass, just some kind of thick, transparent film. Really easy to break through, in fact. Tore like some kind of gel. Hey, whatever. Got my airsoft gun, wielding it as seriously as I could so any pirate that saw me might think it's real and think twice before starting a gunfight. I glanced over at the octopus. I think its name was Dr. Ruffaloo. Funny name. Its color changed. It was a shade of blue before, but now it's a sort of maroon color. I think those are its eyes, are locked on me. I guess it saw me get my stuff. Was it really that surprising, though? It wasn't exactly made of anything, oh dear God. Light gravity, weak security locker. Someone died from that toss. Is this a space orcs thing? Am I some kind of like monster beast to these people? No, no way. That motherfucker over there is a shark for freak's sake and bit like a tank to boot. Ain't no way I'm stronger than him. It must not have been a secure locker. I mean, what kind of security locker is damn transparent? Yes, that's it. Doc Oss over there is just scared because my little act is a bit too good. He did say he thought I was a soldier. So to him, I'm a trained killer getting ready for my morning commute. The fake military fatigues certainly help, I think. I call out to King Shark, Hark Manifred, I think his name was. Hey, big guy, get up. Alexa up there said we got intruders. I don't know what that disco banana you got does, but if it's what I think it is, we're gonna have to throw a party for the uninvited guests. He just groaned, then looked up at me confused. Too much metaphor, I guess. Translator must have garbled it. Pick up your weapon and get ready for a fight, I corrected. He just nodded and seemed to take a similar stance as mine. Good. Glad to know Lieutenant wasn't a mistranslation. At least someone here is professionally trained. I could scarcely believe my oculars. This Duncan individual just tore through a security locker as if it were made of primitive writing scrap. Not to mention the detonation, he was thrown to the wall as all of us and stood up from it like nothing happened. Even Lieutenant Hark was rendered unconscious for a few moments. My brain has no functions for losing consciousness, so I was sharply aware of everything that transpired. Dr. Trin, even he may have been an annoying colleague, but he was a good friend. What am I going to tell his mate? I have to avoid thinking about it for now. Right now we have bigger problems. If those intruders were willing to toss the vessel that fiercely, our lives are certainly the least of their concerns. Dr. Trin was far from the only Friana on the ship, and there's no telling how much more vicious the impact was in other parts of the vessel. The creature, or rather Duncan, spoke something, but the translator failed. That impact must have jumbled it a bit. What it said next, however, was crystal clear redundant computer must have come online. Pick up your weapon and get ready for a fight, it said. So it is a soldier. I knew it. Then that strange device it holds must be a weapon of some kind. Dear Lord, don't tell me it fires lead projectiles like the one I extracted from it. I must warn him if he fires something like that aboard this ship, it could rip a hole to the void or puncture a vital fuel reserve. The ship has systems for handling such occurrences, but they can only do so much, especially if other events have already activated them. I began, please, do not use that weapon aboard this vessel. Such a heavy projectile will surely, yeah, don't worry about it. It's not real, just a toy, it said. A toy? So it isn't a soldier? Oh no, this is not good. That leaves Hark as the only one here capable of defending himself, and if a firefight breaks out in my medical facility, it could severely damage the equipment and leave me unable to treat the wounded. Lieutenant, you must fight outside of this chamber. If any of my equipment is damaged in a fight, it could turn out poorly for us all. He simply grunts and nods at me. Globulin fighting instinct must have kicked in already. He cannot speak. It likely takes all of his willpower just to avoid turning on us. But it is precisely his extreme degree of self-control that earned him his position upon this vessel, and indeed in the Floorban military in general, despite his people's reputation. In fact, if my suspicion is correct, Globulin pirates tend to be very keen on explosive weaponry when it comes to naval combat, for exactly the reason that it turns the insides of any vessel struck into a bloody mess, perfect for activating their instincts and turning them into some of the most terrifying fighters in the galaxy when they inevitably board. And judging from the screams coming from the hallway, I'd say my suspicions are terribly, terribly correct. We're all going to die.